Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar in which we're going to investigate how we use Google's tools to bring the world to your students. My name is Andrew Caffrey. I'm a Google Certified Innovator, Certified Trainer, and I'm going to be hosting and taking you through today's webinar. As you probably know, this is one of a series of webinars we're running, all based around the topic of hybrid learning. So right now we know that teachers are facing an increasingly challenging time with students both in the classroom here in the UK and students at home, and trying to deal with that hybrid situation is more difficult and more challenging than probably anything we've seen before. So each week on Tuesday at 3:30, you can join us on the Google for Education YouTube channel for a series of webinars. And the details and the link for the webinars is there at bit.ly/GFE UK webinars. Of course, all the resources from today are still available on our microsite, so at canopy.click/hybrid. You can get hold of, after today's session, a recording of today's webinar, along with the slides, and all the previous webinars we've done and all the resources we've mentioned and links and slides are all available there for you to use. So if you think today's webinar is useful for some of the staff in the school where you work, feel free to share the mini site with them so they can watch back any of the webinars in their own time after today's event. So today I am joined by Mia and Katie, who are going to take us through some of the range of Google tools that we can use when we're working with students. We want them really to be exploring life outside the classroom, but obviously in the current situation, that's not something that we can currently do. So they're each going to take us through different tools. And we're going to start off with Mia, who's going to talk about Google Arts and Culture.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Mia.
Okay, hi, everyone. So my name is Mia, and I'm a learning technologist in FE and also a Google Certified Trainer. And as Andy said, I'm going to be showing you some features of Google Arts and Culture, which is a fantastic repository of resources. Last week, Laura gave a bit of an introduction to Google Arts and Culture, and you can watch this back at canopy.click/hybrid. But today I'm going to be focusing on some of the ways that you can explore the world using arts and culture, as well as give you some practical ideas of how you can use this within a hybrid lesson. So I'm just going to start by showing you a few features on the website. And I want to begin with some ways of going on some virtual school trips all over the world. This is great at the moment while going on a trip is challenging, not something we can really do. And students are able to view these resources in the classroom or from home if they are learning from there. But even without a global pandemic getting in the way of field trips, these resources also allow students to go to places that they may not otherwise see. So I'm just going to show you, first of all, Street View. There are lots of Street View resources on Google Arts and Culture, just like in some other tools like Earth, which Katie's going to talk to you about later on. So the Street View resources on Arts and Culture cover a wide range of landmarks and museums around the world. What I really like about the Street View resources on Arts and Culture is that they've partnered with a variety of museums which allow you to explore inside as if you were really there. So, for example, we've got the British Museum here, and we could just walk around the museum virtually as if we were really there, which is great because we can't really take our students to visit there at the moment. There are loads of different rooms where you can explore the exhibits and artifacts and have a little look up close as if you were looking at them in real life. So this is a really great resource for, like I say, taking your students on a virtual trip. But another really great part of Arts and Culture is they also have some 3D objects of museum exhibits and artifacts as well. So rather than just viewing them in this 360 format, you can also see them in 3D. So let's just take a look at this one here. What's really great about this is you can zoom into these 3D objects and look at them really closely and from all directions as well. So this is potentially something that you wouldn't even be able to do if you were going on a physical trip to the museum, you might not be able to see these artifacts from all directions, whereas these tools allow you to do that. What I'm going to show you a bit later on is that these 3D objects can also be viewed in augmented reality as well if you're using the Google Arts and Culture app on mobile. So you can place them into the room you're in, which is really fun. Thinking back again to taking your students on some trips, there's also 360-degree videos as well as 360 tours. And what's great about these is they offer guided tours of museums and landmarks, performances, concerts, things like that, which again is something that we just can't go to at the moment. So if I just click on this one here, we have someone will be doing a guided tour of this landmark. And unlike in a regular 2D video, what's really great about this 360 is you can also have a look around as well. So if the person speaking is talking about something in front of them, you can have a look at what they're referring to. And this is perfect for showing students places that maybe have beautiful scenery, or museums where there's things happening all around them so they can have a good look around. What I especially like about these 360 videos is that they're all on YouTube as well. So what I like to do when I come across a 360 video that I like on arts and culture is I just add it to my watch later on YouTube, just in the top right here. And what this means is I can then go back to my watch later in my YouTube account and get the link to that video. So I can grab the URL and then I can share it with my students in Classroom, or I could pop it into Google Slides, which I want my students to look at. I might want to add it to a Google site, which has lots of resources on around a certain topic. Or I could also add this into a Google form and include some questions for my students to answer about the 360 video as well. So there's a few different ways that you can use the content that is on arts and culture with other tools to make it a bit more active for students to work on. So if I just pop back to the Arts and Culture website now, and I just wanted to talk about one particular 360 video resource, which takes that interactivity one step further, and that is called Beyond the Map. And you can find this just by searching, but I'll also make sure that all of these links are available to you on the canopy.click/hybrid website later on. So this is also a 360 video experience, but it takes things a little bit further, like I say. I'm just going to skip this intro here. So like the other video I was showing you, you can look all around while the video is going ahead. But if I just skip to the next stop, you will see that there have been some points of interest added to this video as well to give students a little bit more information. So they can click on these kind of added hotspots to get more information, to view images. But what I especially like here is they have two options for where they want to go next in the video. So they can choose to view Paloma's story, or they can choose to view Lewis's story. And what this does is this just gives students a bit of interactivity, choice and autonomy over the direction in which the video goes. So they have a bit more, like I say, autonomy over that, which makes it a bit more active. So yeah, as I say, really good resource. And what I'll do is make sure that link is available to you all after the session so that you can explore this for yourself, because it's really fun to work through. Again, speaking of making things a little more active so that students aren't just consuming content, but they're also doing things with the content as well. Google Arts and Culture also has a number of games. They're called Arts Experiments, which is a fun way to get students to test their knowledge of the things that they've been learning on arts and culture. So here they are. There are a number of different games that students can play. There's puzzles, crosswords, there's a colouring book and quizzes. And these are just fun, playful, active way of students testing their knowledge, like I say, and really fun for teachers as well to have a play with. I had great fun playing with these the other day. I wanted to draw your attention to one in particular, though, that I found when I was putting together the resources that I wanted to show you today. And that is this one here, which is all about learning about Egyptian hieroglyphs. So this particular experiment allows you to have a go at drawing hieroglyphs on the computer, decoding them, and then also sending your own coded messages. So a really great, active, playful game that can be used within an ancient Egyptian topic. And again, I will provide a link to this so that you can have a play with this in your own time. But this is just a quick example of one of the games that I came across the other day, which I had a lot of fun playing with. The final thing on the Arts and Culture website that I wanted to talk to you about is quizzes. So if I just pop back to my favourites here, I came across this one, what they call Story, which has a number of quiz questions about pyramids. And what you can do with this is you can just share it directly to Google Classroom by clicking the share icon and then clicking on Classroom, which is great, and students can just work through the questions themselves. But if I scroll all the way to the bottom of this resource, it gives me the answers to the questions, and it also gives me links to the particular arts and culture resources where the answers to these questions can be found. And one way that I would like to use this resource is actually by turning it into my own Google Forms quiz, which is what I've done here. And the reason for this is this allows me to collect student responses to that quiz and see how they're getting on with the content that I've been asking them to view on the Arts and Culture website. And the great thing is the questions are already provided for me on the Arts and Culture site. All I need to do is copy those over and give some wrong answers so that it can be turned into a multiple choice quiz. So that's what I've done here. And when students complete this, they will automatically be given the feedback. And what I've done with the feedback for the incorrect answers is I've added in a link to the page on Google Arts and Culture, which they can refer back to if they need to go back and revise and then have another go at the quiz later on. So that's just a quick example of how you can use the Google Arts and Culture content and turn it into something which is useful for your assessment as well. So as you can see, there is a huge amount of resources available on the Arts and Culture website, and there is too much for me even to show you in this short 20 minutes. But as well as the website, there is also an Arts and Culture app, which has even more content, which utilizes the camera and augmented reality on your phone. So if you're working with students who have access to a smartphone, this is a really great additional tool. So earlier on, I was showing you the 3D objects on the Arts and Culture website. And as I said, you can view these in AR on your smartphone and place them in your own home, in the classroom, in your garden, and have a look at them that way, which is really fun. Similarly, there's also a tool called Art Projector in the app, which places famous artworks into the same room as you, life size, so that you can look at those up close. Another fun activity on the app is the Pocket Gallery. So this has a range of galleries and landmarks that you can place into the room you're in using AR and then walk around them. So again, this can be accessed from the classroom or from home if students have access to a smartphone. And then there are a number of other tools on there as well, which you can use with the camera. So for example, turning yourself into a famous painting and other ways of editing kind of selfies and things like that. So yeah, as I said, a huge variety of resources available, and these can be applied to a range of subjects as well. And the resources on Arts and Culture are constantly growing. I'm sure I come across something new that I haven't seen before every time I go on there. But because there's so much there, I wouldn't just want to let my students loose on the website, because it's far too easy to get lost in all the content available. In fact, when I was deciding on what I wanted to share with you today, I just kept finding more and more great content, and it was really difficult to cut that down and decide what it was that I wanted to show. So it's really helpful to curate some of that content in advance in one place. First of all, you could just use the favourites function within Arts and Culture itself, which is how I put all of the resources I wanted to show today together. Or, like I said, everything on Arts and Culture you can share directly to Google Classroom. So if Google Classroom is your go-to place for sharing resources, then you can post them directly to there. An alternative to this is putting together a Google site for a topic where you can embed content from Arts and Culture and add links. And also for students, using Google Sites is a really great way for them to consolidate what they've learned through a topic and from what they've learned through using Arts and Culture as well. And they can work on a site in a collaborative way. And this is great for a hybrid learning environment, because they can work on it in the classroom, they can work on it at home, and they can do this either synchronously or asynchronously. So a really great opportunity for them to consolidate their learning. And finally, one last way of curating some of this content is you could put together a hyperdoc with links to various pieces of content from the Arts and Culture site, as well as activities that you want students to do based on that. And these can be activities that are on the Arts and Culture site, like some of the games, or it might be activities that you've created yourself based on that content, for example, the Google form that I was showing you earlier. So before I hand back to Andy for a Q&A, I just wanted to mention that these slides will be available on the canopy.click/hybrid site, and I've included all of the links that I've mentioned today so that you can have a go at exploring those yourself. That's it from me. Thank you for watching, and I hope you're inspired to try out Arts and Culture after this session. I'm going to hand back to Andy now for some questions.
Thanks, Mia. Really great to see lots of different areas covered there in Arts and Culture, and it really is a huge resource for teachers and students to go into and use. I know as a geography teacher or former geography teacher myself, some of the work in there around national parks, there's a wonderful 3D video inside a glacier when one of the glacial scientists explaining the glacier. That's inside a tour called National Parks of the US. So there is some great content in there, and again, it's a matter of going in there purposefully with a topic to search and seeing what's available. So yeah, an often underused resource. Thank you for taking us through that. Some great tips there on sharing. Don't forget, of course, we're answering questions as we go today. So no questions in the chat yet, Mia. So you've either escaped luckily there, but at the end, we will come back on and answer any more questions people have got. So thanks so far. Katie's going to join us now to talk about, to steal from me and talk about my favorite of all the tools as we explore some of the features that have recently come to Google Earth. Hi, Katie.
Hello. Oh, did that work? Am I on? Oh, I think I'm on. I don't know if my AirPods have dropped out or not.
Katie, you are indeed on. We've all got you loud and clear.
Oh, so sorry about that.
I will drop out. We can put your screen in and we can see your Earth, and then it's over to you, Katie.
Try again. Okay, so hi, I'm Katie. I'm a head of geography at a primary school near Oxford. Now, although I'm going to show Google Earth, some of the things that I'm going to show are not just for geography-based things, they can be used in other subjects as well. And yeah, as we've already said, there's a few of us that do love Google Earth. I particularly enjoy it because it's all about that going beyond the four walls of the classroom. It opens up so many doors. You can make interactive tours and virtual field trips, which obviously is really good at the moment because we can't go out maybe to those places that we normally go to and do our field trips too. So I'm going to talk, I've obviously launched Google Earth here already, and I'm going to talk through these icons that are all down the side and some of the things that we can do with them. So obviously the first thing we do mainly with Google Earth is search for places. And I work with years 4, 5 and 6 children, Key Stage 2 children, and they just love searching for places on Google Earth. And I don't mind them doing so, really. So for instance, if we went to London, just the first one that came up, okay, it automatically comes up with the little information card, which, you know, Key Stage 2 children will read and they'll look at and they'll gain some information from. But it's that whole transition between the aerial view of something and the street view of it. And then they can get that comparison. It gives them that whole sense of where places are in the world and the relationship between them. So if they zoom in, and then, as we all know, they can grab the little peg man and put the little peg man down and zoom in. If we do that, there he is.
Seem to be losing some of Katie's sound now. I don't know if you can hear us, Katie, but we seem to have lost your sound.
There we go. We're back on.
Yep, we're back.
There we go. It was a premonition before. I knew something like that was going to happen. So I was just saying about children dropping Pegman on Google Earth and exploring around them, getting the shape of places and things as well. If I just come back out of little Pegman, okay, there is also the I'm feeling lucky button, which is this dice button on the side. Now I've seen this used really inventively in English lessons, and the children come onto Google Earth, and wherever the I'm feeling lucky button takes them to, they then use as a writing prompt for a story or a piece of descriptive writing. They can write as they are the little pegman and what they can hear and what they can see. And if you pair it with sound effects from YouTube, they can get a sense of what you see and hear around them when they're writing. So that's another button that I do like. I think it's an underused button. So that's I'm feeling lucky. The next button I want to show you was this measuring button on the side as well. So this is great, particularly if you're doing your field work that you can't always go to. I'm going to go to Rutland Water to demo this one. It's a reservoir near where I lived. So we used to, for our geography coursework, go to Rutland Water, and the children used to do various experiments and things here. But a good use of this measure tool, if I click on it, is if I draw around the edge of Rutland Water, it will actually tell me the perimeter and the area of the lake. So if we finish it off, so this could be useful. It could be used in maths lessons as well as geography lessons. We go all the way around and then back, close it off. Up here in the top corner, it gives us the perimeter and the area. And we can then use that in our work, and they could compare the size of this lake to another lake. If you're working with different units, you can do all the different units and change them as you go. So they could do this one and then compare the size of it to Grafham Water or Lake Windermere or somewhere. And, you know, also opens up that whole door of, we couldn't actually go to these places and measure around the edge of them on a school trip, but hey, we can do online. So another useful tool. So that's 3 of them, just simple searching, I'm feeling lucky, and the measuring tool on the side. The other one that is, this is the latest addition to Google Earth, is Google Earth projects. Now these can be put together by the teacher or by students, and I'm going to show both examples. They are, every time you make a project, it saves it as a file in Google Drive automatically, which can then be added to Google Classroom if it was by the teacher as something for the children to look at, or if the children curated one, then they could attach it back to the teacher just by adding a file, which I'm going to show you later. So 2 examples that I've got here. So if it was the teacher-led one, which I've done this while we were doing asynchronous learning. So my year 6 class were learning about earthquakes around the world, and we wanted them to look at various case studies. And if it zooms out and we say present, okay, what this does is it takes the children to or takes whoever's watching the project around certain points that I have programmed in. For each one, there's this information card that pops up. It takes us to where it was. So we're currently in Japan. And it says, watch the video and record in your book the strength of this earthquake. What did this earthquake trigger? So as we go through, this is a YouTube link. And when the pupils click on it, it will launch it. So I wanted them to watch this one and then listen out for what else did this earthquake trigger. And then if they click on next, the second point it goes to is Haiti. And again, it says, watch this clip on Haiti's earthquake. What was the cost of the total damage? So there was another YouTube link that they then had to watch. And as we go through, we had the Mexico earthquake. And there's a YouTube clip that I added in. And then the last one was going around to Nepal. So this was, yeah, as I said, an asynchronous lesson. Children worked at it at their own pace. They worked through them and they recorded the answers after watching the YouTube clips. Now, as a teacher, I put all that information together. I added the points and I added the YouTube clips that I wanted to go with it. So that was all easily done under the new feature button, but I'm going to show you how to add points on the next one. So another one we did just before we went into lockdown, all the way back in March. We took our year fours on a literary walk around Oxford. So this was the walk that we did, and for each one of the things we talked about how it connected to a book that they had heard of or had looked at. If we put this one into present mode, so we started at the Story Museum, and if we go through the points, we spoke about each of the things. I just want to get to Narnia. Here we go. So the Narnia one, see, there we go. So as well as having those aerial views, I can also make my view be a street view to include. So this one is talking about the Narnia lamppost and how this lamppost triggered the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe story. And obviously from an aerial view, this isn't going to work. So I programmed into this one the street view of it. So for this one, the children worked through, and then what they had to do is write about their day doing the walk and what they found out from it. But this was a good memory trace that could have been done by the children as well. So can you remember our school trip and where we went? So it's a really nice resource that they could then look at through Google Classroom at home. So I'm going to show you from a child's perspective. So another one we've done in studying our rivers is they have plotted the way of the River Thames and where it flows. And so they've added, this was a child's project, and they had to add a source to the river and then plot some of the places that it went along as they go. Now, they have one last place to plot, which is the mouth of the river. So I'm going to show you how you add points to the projects. So you say new feature, and you've got 3 choices. You can either add a place mark, or add a line. We're going to add a place. We're going to add Southend to this Google project because that's where the Thames estuary comes out. So it'll zoom in on there, but if we want it more here, we can click the little point and say this is where we want our last place to be. We're going to call this one the mouth of the River Thames, making sure that we're adding it to the right project, and save. Now it automatically adds it here. If we wanted to add Southend, I could have just added add to project. If we now go back to that one that I just added called mouth, the little pencil, as always, means that I can edit it. So if I click edit, it comes up with this little side panel. And on this is where I can add a picture. So clicking the little camera, I get the options that I can upload. I can do a Google image search, or this is where I can add the YouTube videos. So on the earthquake one, when it had the videos that it connected to, they were all YouTube videos. Or there is, if you had videos in your Google Drive from Screencastify or some other thing like that, then I could add them here. But for now, we're going to find a picture of the Thames estuary. Okay, and I can click on it and just add. And then if I wanted to add any information, so the River Thames joins the North Sea at the Thames estuary. Okay. Depending what your project is doing or what it's done, you can change the color or the points on it. And then, yeah, it automatically adds that to the project. Here is capture this view. So if I wanted to get a different view, if I wanted to rotate round, I can do that and then capture the view that I want it to come out with. But I'm okay with this view on this one at the moment. So if we go back, so this would be the project that a child may put together on the course of the River Thames. Okay, I'm going to show you how we can then add that to a Google Classroom assignment. So if I just come out and swap my screens around, like so, so share. So I'm now going to share this one. So here is the an assignment that a teacher might have set, saying upload your work here. So we're going to add, and the child, if they're wanting to add that project back to the teacher, can do add from their Google Drive. And if they go to My Drive, okay, it automatically makes that folder. Whenever you make a Google Earth project, it automatically makes a Google Earth folder within their drive, and they can click on it. And then there's that River Thames project that they could have put together. And so they just insert it back. So just like they would a doc or a slides or anything else that they might have created, it works exactly the same way. And the child can then hand it in back to the teacher. So even though it's an Earth file, it still works the same way. So that's that one. One last thing I just wanted to show you, a little bit of fun for Christmas coming up. Obviously, we've got a few more weeks before we finish, but if I come back in on this slide, one last icon on this side is the Voyager icon. So this is very similar to arts and culture as you found before, but arts and culture, this Voyager has got lots of things on, lots of the stories and things that you can work through, and it takes children around the Earth. So you might find something useful resources on here, but the one I want to show was games. Now, one of my favorite ones on here anyway is Where is Carmen Sandiego? I've used this food origins one because I know there is a topic that we do in geography, which is looking at their food and where it comes from. But the one I wanted to draw attention to was the holiday traditions one for Christmas. So it's linked to the Santa tracker, and you've got Little Santa, and it's all about different holiday celebrations across the globe. So when you click Let's Go, it takes children around the Earth and asks them questions based on where they are. So we're currently in the United Kingdom. Which British cream made Christmas trees popular? If we click on the answer, it then does a little zoom in and tells us. Obviously, we've got Buckingham Palace. If we go next, it then goes somewhere else. Where do people celebrate something festival on the winter solstice? And it's showing us A is Russia, B is China, C is Japan. Okay, so yeah, they're the different buttons along the side, and you can have some fun with the quiz and holiday traditions. So I hope I've inspired you to experiment with Google Earth, and not just in geography lessons. So yeah, I think that's it from me. So we'll hand back over, and I think we've got a Q&A.
Thank you, Katie. Great to go through some of the new features there on Google Earth, particularly projects, which really lifts the game as a as a fellow geography teacher, the ability for students to create their own content on Earth has really sort of, opened up a range of possibilities with Google Earth as to what we can do and what we can do with that as a tool. Feel free, of course, to ask any questions you've got about anything we've covered today or any of the tools that Google have got for helping students to see the world outside the classroom in the chat. We have had some questions come in already. So is Google Earth different than Google Maps? Katie, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I find Google Earth a lot more wholesome than Maps. It gives a more a bigger overview and show of the world. You can use Google Maps for certain things, but the power that is within the Google Earth, particularly in the projects, you can just create better content. I think you may have more to add on that.
Yeah, I think there's certain features that exist in Earth that obviously they both share the same underlying data sets. And so there are that similarities, street views in both. So there are similarities between the two, but Earth is graphically a much more visual product, as you said. It's got the ability to zoom into cities and see them in 3D and to create that fly around effect because it knows the terrain definition. So it is a more powerful tool than Earth, which is obviously a mapping base. Sorry, the Maps, which is a mapping based tool. So I'd say Earth is visually they're more powerful. Earth now runs in browser for all users. So historically, going back to even, I want to say almost when I was a student, there was always this downloadable version of Google Earth that lots of schools had on their network. But Google Earth at earth.google.com now runs in browser for users. So on any device, and here we are using them on a Chromebook, on a range of devices, be able to load up Earth and then use the tool. So they are different between the two tools. And so there are differences. And I'd say, Earth is a nice student-focused one. Think of Earth as the atlas and Google Maps as perhaps the flat paper maps. I think that's a good way of viewing it as a difference. In terms of other questions, somebody asked a question about migration earlier. Do you want to pop my screen in for a minute? I'm just going to talk about one of the tools. So I just did a quick. I'm on Google Earth here, obviously. And I just did a quick search using the search feature here. So whenever we put the search feature in, it does a few different things. It will search places, obviously, and so it will search the names of places. It will search data layers, and so that's information that people have put into Google Earth as they've uploaded additional data. It will also search the tours, which are the Explore tours. So again, if we're interested in human migration, which I think somebody in the chat was talking about while we were watching that video, you can then bring that in. And again, that will just then play this symbol over here means that it's an Explore tour. I'm just going to do the search again because I've gone off it for too long. Guided tours and modern human migration. And then it will load that tour in so that I can start to look through that piece. And so most of the tours start in this way where they'll have the information. In this case, it's looking at sort of the major movements of people, particularly focusing around the world at the moment. So we can go in on this and have a look, and then once we go to Explore again, it then brings us into the Earth, into that sort of familiar piece, taking us through that. So a bit like we saw with Mia and Arts and Culture, that ability for us to go in and see different features is really useful when it comes to looking for things in Google Earth. So that mentions just someone was chatting about migration. So I would say searching both, and I would imagine there's also migration content. If we searched arts and culture, there'd probably be some topical content as well. So both would be that. In terms of questions, let's see if anything else has come in that anyone's asked. I think there aren't any other big questions sitting in the chat at the moment. It's always important for us to get feedback on these webinars as we go through each of the webinars. So if you want it, it'd be great if you could follow the link, which we pop over in the chat there to our feedback form. To give us feedback on this. As we've said before, this is one of a series of webinars that we're running to help teachers deal with hybrid learning. And don't forget, after today's session, we've talked about a lot of tools today. So I'm going to go and put all the links to all the different areas in art and culture, and obviously some of the Google Earth tours at canopy.click/hybrid. So I'll make all the links available there after the session. Other than that, I think it just leaves me to thank Katie and Mia for their input today to today's webinar, and we'll see you all next week. Take care, everybody.